When the HOA president, Mr. Daniels, showed up at my door waving a clipboard, I knew it was going to be one of those days. "Mr. Parker," he began, puffing his chest out like a mall cop with a badge. "You've been fined $2,500 for unauthorized fishing in the community lake." I blinked. Unauthorized fishing? I was catching dinner, not running a seafood business. He smirked. "Rules are rules. That lake belongs to the HOA. Homeowners are not permitted to use it without written approval." I laughed. "That's funny, considering the lake sits right behind my property line." Daniels tapped his pen. "Doesn't matter. The board voted last month. No fishing, swimming, or boating without paying HOA recreation fees." I raised an eyebrow. "And those fees go to?" He grinned. "Maintenance. You wouldn't understand." Then he handed me the citation and strutted off like he'd just won a war. That night, as I looked over the fine, I noticed something odd. The lake wasn't listed anywhere in the HOA's land records. A few searches later, I found the truth. The lake wasn't owned by the HOA at all. It was publicly auctioned a month ago due to unpaid taxes. Guess who bought it the next morning? That's right, me. A week later, I put up a massive sign. Greater than, private property. No trespassing. Lake owned by Parker Enterprises. When Daniels saw it, his face turned tomato red. "You can't do this. That's our lake." I held up the deed. "Not anymore. The HOA never paid their taxes." I did. Within hours, the HOA board was in panic mode. People were calling, demanding access to their community lake. I smiled and sent out an official notice. Greater than, access suspended indefinitely due to misuse and unpaid fines. In other words, no one from the HOA was allowed to fish, swim, or even step foot on the dock. The next day, Daniels marched up with the rest of the board, threatening lawsuits and screaming, "We'll take it back." I calmly said, "Be my guest. But every minute you're on my property is trespassing, and that's a $10,000 fine per person." They froze. I continued, "You fined me for fishing. Now I own your lake. I guess that's what happens when you mess with the wrong fisherman." That night, I sat on my dock, cast a line, and watched as HOA members stood behind the "No Entry" signs, fuming in silence. The best part, a few weeks later, nearby neighborhoods offered to pay me for access to the water. Now, I make thousands a month, from the same lake they tried to ban me from. Guess the HOA learned something that day. Greater than don't bite the hook unless you're ready to be reeled in. Fishing. 2 weeks later, I woke up to the sound of gurgling water. At first, I thought it was the wind. But when I stepped outside, my stomach dropped. The water level in my lake was sinking fast, like someone had pulled the plug. I ran down to the dock and saw muddy footprints near the edge. Then I spotted them, 3 HOA board members, including Daniels, standing by a large drainage pipe, twisting open the valve with a wrench. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted. Daniels didn't even flinch. "Restoring what's ours," he sneered. "If we can't use the lake, nobody will." My hands curled into fists. "You're trespassing. Again." He laughed, dripping with arrogance. "Call whoever you want, Parker. You think anyone's gonna believe you over the HOA?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah, I think they will." I pointed at the tree behind them, where a blinking red light was hidden. "My security camera." The color drained from Daniel's face. Within an hour, real police cars rolled up. The officers reviewed the footage, their expressions tightening as they watched Daniels and his crew destroy property worth millions. "Mr. Daniels," one officer said coldly, "you're under arrest for vandalism and criminal trespass." Daniels exploded. "You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president." The officer snapped the cuffs on his wrists. "You were. Not anymore." As they dragged him off, I couldn't help but think of the irony. They fined me for fishing, and now they were getting fined for felonies. A week later, the HOA sent a formal apology letter signed by the new acting president. Daniels had been permanently removed. They even offered to negotiate for access to the lake again. I didn't even read the rest. I just wrote back, "Greater than, access denied. Actions have consequences." That night, as I sat on the dock, fishing line in hand, the reflection of the moon danced across the calm water, my water. Sometimes justice doesn't come from a courtroom. Sometimes it comes from a fisherman with patience and proof.